Hi, I'm Melanie, and this is Unfashioned, a podcast about unraveling what no longer fits and re-wearing what was always real. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening, downloading, and sharing the first 3 stories. We live in a world constantly rewarding conformity and where we're taught to polish and filter and hold back. It feels so real to speak authentically, to be raw, unguarded, and human, and to finally just be myself. So thank you for letting my words live and exist with you in this messy, beautiful work of unraveling. In the last episode, The Wardrobe of Me, we peeled back the layers, the roles, the uniforms, and the identities we wore to be seen, safe, or loved. And when we finally let them fall away, the air touched our own skin. It was raw, it was real, and it was freedom. That's where this story begins, in that new air and the nakedness that follows after the release. When you are lighter than you've ever been, but also a little lost. When you no longer know what comes next, and yet somehow you don't even care. Because, for the first time, you're free of expectations. That freedom, even without direction, feels like peace. When everything false falls away, there's a strange quiet that follows. You feel exposed, but you are also lighter than you've ever felt. You look around your life and you realize nothing external can define you anymore. Not your job title, not the relationship status, not the roles that you performed so well for so long. At first, it feels like standing outside, naked, with absolutely nothing to hide behind. For the first time, you're not performing to belong. You're just here. I remember the exact day that I let go of all of the expectations of my marriage, of my ex-husband, and what I thought it should be. For so long, I was holding on to this idea of how our relationship was supposed to look like, how he should act, how I should feel. Once I realized I could not change him, and it was never my place to try, I knew it was time to let go. I stopped trying to make him into something he wasn't and who he was never going to be. I stopped nagging, I stopped asking, and I stopped trying to save something that was already long over. Once I stopped, that's when the lightness came. Like I'd been wearing a heavy coat that no longer kept me warm. I didn't even realize how much weight I had been carrying until I stopped and took it off. The most surprising part? I didn't even feel sad. I felt free. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't waiting for him to change. I just didn't care in the same way. And not caring wasn't indifference. It was peace. Everything about him, about us, about the make-believe story that I had been telling myself, it all softened. And in that softening, I found part of myself again. Happier, lighter, and freer. Like I'd stepped out of a version of my life that had grown too tight and finally let my body breathe again. Once I was standing there in my own nakedness, I stopped valuing myself through his actions and started breathing in my own freedom. There's a strange beauty in standing there. No costume to hide behind, no script to follow. Just you breathing in the afterglow of everything you let go. There's also relief in that, a soft kind of joy that hums underneath the uncertainty. Because for the first time, you are not trying to be anything. You wake up and the world is quieter. It's disorienting, but in the best of ways. You're untethered and life becomes unscripted. And yes, you're a little lost and you're a little vulnerable, but maybe being lost is really just the way to be found. When you stop trying to be found by other people, you start finding your own self in the smallest, simplest of ways. The quiet isn't empty anymore, it's spacious. You start to fill it with things that feel like you. At first, it's awkward. You move through your days like you're relearning how to live in your own skin. You don't have a map for this new life. You're making it up as you go. Some mornings you wake up certain, and other times you feel completely unanchored. But there's something exciting about the uncertainty, a kind of raw truth. You begin to listen to yourself differently, to your breath, to your instincts, to the way your body leans towards what feels right and pulls away around what doesn't. You notice what feels peaceful and what feels heavy, what makes you open and what makes you shrink. And without even realizing it, you start adjusting and choosing differently. You take long walks with no destination. You listen to music that matches your heartbeat instead of your mood. You stop over explaining. You most importantly stop rushing to fill the silence. You begin to trust your own rhythm, the slower, steadier one that got buried under the years of noise. This is the rebuilding. You make small, honest choices. You say no more often. You protect your peace and you let joy in even when it feels undeserved. This is all so subtle and slow, but it's all yours. And your soul has been waiting for this all along. You're not chasing what's next anymore. You're moving with what's now. And that, for the first time, feels like enough. There comes a point when something inside you shifts very quietly, but completely. You start carrying yourself differently. You walk lighter, your shoulders lower, and your eyes soften. The light that used to flicker behind you starts to move through you, and without realizing it, people notice. They can't quite name it, but they see it. You're not performing or rushing to be understood. You're just existing fully, openly, and it shows. People start asking, "What are you doing differently? What's changed? Or what's coming next for you?" And the answer is nothing and everything. You're simply living. You're listening to yourself now, and that changes everything. It's funny how uncomfortable that answer can make people. We live in a world built on goals and metrics and the next steps, a world that worships control. So when you say, "I don't know," people look at you strangely. But what if this is the right answer? What if not knowing is the most honest place to be? When it comes down to it, we never really have control, not over timing or outcomes, not over how other people love or leave. The only thing we ever get to hold is what is inside of us, how we think, how we feel, and how we respond. Everything else is just layers of clothing, the stories we drape ourselves in, the layers we use to look put together when we're really just trying to stay warm. But when you start taking those layers off, the ones stitched from control, from certainty, and from needing to know, you realize just how good it feels to be bare, to be naked in your own truth, to stand there unguarded without expectation. And once you stop trying to rearrange the fabric of your own life, you can finally feel the air and the sun on your skin. That's the difference now. I'm not forcing the light anymore. I'm letting the light move through me and letting it land wherever it wants to. I don't have a clear plan and I don't have the answers people keep asking me for, but I do have peace. And that for me is enough. Maybe it's what freedom really looks like. Not having control, but having trust. Not knowing what's next, but knowing yourself. And maybe, just maybe, this is what it means to truly be naked. Not exposed, but alive. Not polished, but real. Unraveled, uncovered, and finally at home in your own skin. I think we all end up here at some point in that strange, beautiful stretch of not knowing. It's uncomfortable, but it's also kind of magic. Because when you finally stop trying to fix and figure everything out, you start to see how much energy you were spending trying to hold everything together, an outfit that never really fit. Maybe you're in that place right now where people keep asking what you're doing next and you don't have the answers. Where you've taken everything off that wants to find you and you're standing there bare. You don't have to have the answers. You don't have to know what's coming. The peace is in the pause of letting yourself just be. Because right now, you're building trust with your timing, with your intuition, and with your soul. And that's where your light starts to return. So you stay here as long as you need in your own skin and your own freedom. Unraveled, but real. Exactly where you're meant to be. You've taken off what no longer serves you, and beneath it, you found what's always been true. You. I'm Melanie, and thank you for listening to this story of Unfashioned and for walking through the unraveling with me. If something in this episode touched you, I'd love to hear from you. If you are new here, be sure to listen to the first 3 stories in the season. Each one threads into the next. And join me next week for story 5. Until then, stay unraveled and stay real.